Hi guys, today I want to talk about the version 4.3.4 of MindExpress. I want to show you all the new features in this version. One of the first things I want to show you, if you go to edit mode and you select a number of cells and then do a right click, you can now assign those cells to a scan group. So you can make custom scan groups in MindExpress now. If I select a scan group, you will see an indicator in the bottom right corner. It will show you to what scan group these cells belong. So I'm going to make 2 additional groups like this, scan group 3. If I now go to scanning mode,
communication animal, elephant, communication animal, elephant, communication
as soon as I select
animal,
the group, I will then do row
horse,
column scanning in
fish,
this group. I will show you why
animal,
it's doing row column
horse,
scanning
fish,
in a minute.
Fish.
Communication animal.
So if we have a look in the scanning settings, you can see that my method is still row column, and there is a checked option that says use scan groups. So if this is checked, this means that the scan groups will be used. It's a default setting, so it's default, it's on. And if I would choose a linear, then would basically do the same. But then
Communication
as soon as I select
animal,
the group,
elephant,
I would do linear scanning in that.
lion, tiger, monkey, camel, bear, spider.
Okay. Now, there are a few important things to note. First of all, this cell is non-selectable. So if cells are non-selectable, of course, they will not be taken into account. If I don't assign cells to a group, so I say for these cells, no scan group, this means that these cells will not be scanned. They will be selectable by a mouse if, for example, a therapist needs to be able to access them, but they won't be accessible for people who do scanning. So if you don't assign them, as soon as you have one cell that has a scan group, that means that the system will use the scan groups and it will not include any cells that are not assigned to a scan group. So in this case, it will keep these cells from being scanned. So if I go back to scanning,
Communication elephant, communication elephant, communication.
Okay, so that's important that you know that they need to be in a scan group to be scanned. Now, I'm using auditory scanning in this case, and I would also like to note that there is now an additional option that says a scan word for the current scan group. So this will define my scan word for example, group 1. So I'm going to do group 1 here, and then scan word for this scan group would be group 3, for example. Okay, and so as soon as I start scanning,
Group 3, Group 1, Group 3, Group 1.
you will hear that the auditory scanning is using the scan word that I specified for the scan group. Another thing that has been added in this version is the fact that you can now give your cells additional shapes. So I'll add 2 extra rows to show you. And so I have already created a few styles that will show you what can be done. So this would be, we could do it like this, for example. So you have a speech bubble, a thought bubble, a star, then a hexagon and an octagon. And the way you specify them is by going in the style settings, by going to shape, and then on top of the rectangle and the rounded rectangle and circle and the folder, you now have these 5 additional shapes. So this gives you more flexibility when you're designing your communication board. Okay. So if we go back, I'll show you another new feature in the document preferences. It's actually not completely new, but if you select the option highlight while reading in the document preferences, you actually now have two options. You can color the background or you can color the text, and of course you can specify in which color things should be colored. Okay, so right now we're going to color the background. So if I make a small sentence,
cat, cow,
and I read
dog,
the sentence,
cat, cow,
you can see that the background of my message is actually highlighted when it's being read. Now if I change that to color the text,
dog, cat, cow,
then only the text will be colored. Okay. Then another thing that's interesting is that we've added next to the label in the full editor, you have this small triangle here. Now if you click it, there is an additional box that opens up and you have more space to type your label. You know, the space in this field in the editor may be too small. If you have a long sentence, for example, then you can just type your sentence. And the good thing is if you type enters here, so hi, I'm a sheep, for example, you will see that the enter is also kept in the cell. So it's automatically adding the double hashtags to make an enter. So it's just something that is handy when you have a long sentence, that you can just click here and you have a larger box to type your text. Another small addition is if you have the message box, there's actually now the possibility to specify how the text should be aligned in the message box. So you can go left, middle, or right. So if I put it in the middle, for example, and I type a new sentence, then it will start
dog,
from the middle.
cat, pig, swan, chicken.
It's not useful for everyone, but it's just an extra option that you have right now. Also new in this version is the fact that we now have MindExpress in web license format. So that means that if you start MindExpress, you'll need to log into a web account, and that will verify your credentials. And if you've been verified, you can just start MindExpress. So it's actually an extra option when talking about the protection of MindExpress. I'll have a more extensive explanation in a different movie, but just so you know that in this, starting from 4.3.4, there is now the option to have MindExpress in a web license. Then also new is the fact that you have demo mode for protected files. So for example, this 2 switches to success sample here is actually a good sample, and it's just a demo, so it doesn't mean that the 2 switches to success will actually have a demo mode. It's just for demo purposes. But if a protected document has a demo period specified, then you'll see a big button below in the protection window that allows you to click the button, and it will start up the protected document, and you will be able to evaluate and use the file for the number of days that is specified in the button. Okay, so that this doesn't mean that every protected document has a demo period. That is decided by the creator of the content, but it's possible. Okay, and then another small addition is the fact that you now have the option under file, and under file menu you have backup user data and restore user data. So this allows you to make a backup of all the user data that is on your PC, and you can specify what you want to backup. If you click OK, you need to specify a file name, and then it will tell you to restart MindExpress before the data is exported. But when you do, you have made a backup of your data. If later on you experience some sort of problem with your user data, you can always go to File, Backup, Restore User Data, and you can bring up one of the files that you've backed up, and then you can have all your data back. So this is really useful for making backups, making local backups. So you cannot use this to export your user data from one PC to another PC. It's really for local restore and backup. And then one last small thing is if you go to help license info, if ever you experience any trouble or you need an extra explanation, there is now a button remote support under help license info. If you click this button, it will automatically start a TeamViewer session on your PC. It will show you an ID and a password, and you can pass this to the support people at Jabla or at a supplier if they support TeamViewer. Okay, that's just a big roundup of all the new features in 4.3.4. Okay, thank you.